and medicine.
As an international company that provides natural solutions for cancer, metabolic syndrome, and degenerative diseases, the management upholds a health philosophy that centers on whole food nutrition as the frontier in health management.
When we talk about choosing treatment, especially in the area of cancer, patients are really afraid of chemotherapy because of its side effects, and they tend to then look towards natural products. But this is not either conventional or natural choice. At Simply Nature, patients can have the best of both worlds. Our protocols work with conventional chemotherapy to minimize its side effects so that they can get the best treatment using both conventional and natural together.
Cancer is like a virus. It continuously evolves, it mutates, so it can develop defenses against our usual treatment modalities like chemotherapy.
Like I said, chemotherapy and radiation therapy have a lot of side effects. So more often than not, patients stop their treatment because of these side effects. It's very important to have the support.
With the supplements that we give the patients, there will be lesser side effects, so they will be able to finish their chemotherapy protocols more comfortably.
This company introduced PPARs, which is touted as one of the best natural ways of solving serious health problems.
PPARs stands for peroxisome proliferator activating receptors. It's basically a nuclear receptor found inside the cells. Now, when these receptors are activated, the benefit that you can get from that is, number one, cellular differentiation. Number two, it's to promote fatty acid metabolism. If you have better insulin function, your blood sugar will naturally go down. And another one is to induce cancer cell death by modulating the immune system.
As a sole distributor of PPARs, the company promotes its use to many reputable health institutions worldwide and actively organizes corporate health conferences and public health talks in Asia.
Simply Nature PPARs is made out of a special strain of these types of microalgae. It is very effective by protecting the bone marrow. We maintain the integrity of the immune system of the patient, which is very important to prevent infections and to fight off the cancer itself. And also, Simply Nature PPARs is also very dense in nutrients so that the patient can recover faster because of better cellular healing.
Sabi ko parang na-lead kami to an extraordinary and I must say amazing journey. I'm very proud of him. At a young age, na 8 years old, he believed that it's his purpose to siguro encourage other people then. We would like to really pay it forward with the knowledge that there's really, like Simply Nature, that can help people with cancer very much.
When fighting cancer, living healthy is very important because it allows us to pursue what is important to us in life, and that's what it's all about. When we can help a patient move from being bedridden to getting up, to be lucid in thought so that they can have conversations with their loved ones, it gives the whole process of fighting cancer a whole new meaning. And that is what drives us at Simply Nature.
CA markers.
Mataas siya. Then, nung after 3 months, nung pag-take ko ng Simply Nature, doon, naging normal na siya until now. Kahit si Dr. Johan na gulat siya kasi biglang normal agad in just 3 months, nag-normal agad yung CEA ko. One year and 5 months, cancer-free. Dapat may food supplements kayo, like Simply Nature, na proven and tested ko na. Talagang hindi ako pwedeng mawala ng Simply Nature na yan.
2019, I was being diagnosed a cancer of my uterus. So I was shocked. Sabi ko, bakit nagkaroon ako ng ganito? Samantalang hindi ako mahilig sa pagkain. I'm sorry, basura. Started the tablet and then the powder.
The powder.
Tinry ko din yung yung tawag dito.
Gel?
Yeah,
Soft
yung gel.
gel?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's really good. After 2 months ng aking therapy and taking PPARs, sabi ni doktora, magpa-laboratory ka na. So, nung nagpa-laboratory na ako, praise God, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, lahat normal. To God be the glory, salamat sa Diyos. Sa 2 months ko po ng aking pag-take ng PPARs, ako po ay cancer-free.
CA markers.
Mataas siya. Then, nung after 3 months, nung pag-take ko ng Simply Nature, doon, naging normal na siya until now. Kahit si Dr. Johan na gulat siya kasi biglang normal agad in just 3 months, nag-normal agad yung CEA ko. One year and 5 months, cancer-free. Dapat may food supplements kayo, like Simply Nature, na proven and tested ko na. Talagang hindi ako pwedeng mawala ng Simply Nature na yan.
2019, I was being diagnosed a cancer of my uterus. So I was shocked. Sabi ko, bakit nagkaroon ako ng ganito? Samantalang hindi ako mahilig sa pagkain. I'm sorry, basura. Started the tablet and then the powder.
The powder.
Tinry ko din yung yung tawag dito.
Gel?
Yeah,
Soft
yung gel.
gel?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's really good. After 2 months ng aking therapy and taking PPARs, sabi ni doktora, magpa-laboratory ka na. So, nung nagpa-laboratory na ako, praise God, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, lahat normal. To God be the glory, salamat sa Diyos. Sa 2 months ko po ng aking pag-take ng PPARs, ako po ay cancer-free.
CA markers.
Mataas siya. Then, nung after 3 months, nung pag-take ko ng Simply Nature, doon, naging normal na siya until now. Kahit si Dr. Johan na gulat siya kasi biglang normal agad in just 3 months, nag-normal agad yung CEA ko. One year and 5 months, cancer-free. Dapat may food supplements kayo, like Simply Nature, na proven and tested ko na. Oo, talagang hindi ako pwedeng mawala ng Simply Nature na.
2019, I was being diagnosed a cancer of my uterus. So I was shocked. Sabi ko, bakit nagkaroon ako ng ganito? Samantalang hindi ako mahilig sa pagkain. I'm sorry, basura. Started the tablet and then the powder. Tinry ko din yung yung tawag dito.
Gel?
Yeah, yung gel. Yes. It's really good. After 2 months ng aking therapy and taking PPARs, sabi ni doktora, magpa-laboratory ka na. So, nung nagpa-laboratory na ako, praise God, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, lahat normal. To God be the glory. Salamat sa Diyos. Sa 2 months ko po ng aking pag-take ng PPARs, ako po ay cancer-free.
Of Simply Nature papers, that's why I still prescribe it, it's because one of the benefits is to promote cellular differentiation. Remember, for leukemia, the problem here is the maturation of cells, and that is specifically what Simply Nature papers do. It's to help your cells or your bone marrow cells mature. Okay, so that's why patients who undergo chemotherapy, who got their white blood cells, blood cell count obliterated, destroyed, once they take Simply Nature PPARs liquid, your white blood cell count goes up. It's because of this specific benefit. Okay, that's why I still keep on prescribing.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Simply Healed, and again today we have Dr. Jansen with us.
Hello everyone, hello Chad, welcome to another episode. Today we're going to be talking about part 3 of the leukemia series. Okay?
The final one.
Yeah, the final one, yeah.
So I hope you got a little bit out of the part 1 and part 2, and we're going to continue with first a recap of what we taught in the first 2 parts.
Okay, so the first 2 segments, we talked all about the general stuff about leukemia. Then we talked about the first 2 forms of leukemia. The first 2 forms of leukemia, which are the acute form, acute lymphoblastic and acute myelogenous form. Today, we're going to be talking about the chronic form, okay? Chronic myelogenous leukemia and chronic lymphocytic leukemia.
So today we're going to go to the chronic, which is the later stage of the maturation of your blood cells. So Doc, this chart, right?
Yeah.
This is the comparison.
Yeah. So first, let's have a recap again. No? So at what age group does the chronic form appear? So from its word, from its name, chronic. So it's a longer term. We have a longer term time frame. So the chronic form of leukemia happens in older adults. So starting from age 50 and up. So for the first type of leukemia that we're going to be discussing is chronic myelogenous leukemia. So chronic myelogenous leukemia occurs around the age group of 50s to 64. Okay, that is where it is most commonly found. Now, there is a specific genetic abnormality here that produces this form of leukemia, which is the Philadelphia chromosome, or the translocation between chromosome 9 and 22. Okay, so please remember this because this is very important for the treatment for this specific type of leukemia. Okay, so now when you get tested, what do you expect to see in your blood cell count? Okay, so you would expect to see numerous neutrophils, eosinophils, monocytes that are dysfunctional. Okay, so you have the mature forms already, but they're not working. Okay.
So basically, you have malformed blood cells. So
Yes.
when we look at our blood through a microscope, it looks weird.
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah.
that is basically what blood
So,
cancer is.
This specific form of leukemia, where does it usually metastasize? It usually metastasizes to the spleen. Okay, and what are the risk factors? It's high radiation exposure. So if you are for people back then, no, in World War II, Japan was
The atomic bomb.
The atomic bomb was dropped in
Nagasaki.
Japan. So after the bombing, after a few years, with the bombing, they expected an increase in the cases of people who got this type of leukemia.
And that did happen.
Yeah, it did. There were a lot of leukemia cases back then, post bombing. So how do we treat this? So remember the translocation, we have a specific medication to control that. Okay, so the specific medication for this are tyrosine kinase inhibitors. Okay, so this is a special class of drugs that controls for that genetic abnormality. So what are the examples of this? It's imatinib and sunitinib. Okay, so imatinib is the first line medication for this. So imatinib and sunitinib is it's a treatment for the genetic abnormality. It's not really chemo. It's not really immunotherapy. It's more on.
It's
more
like a
of
targeted drug.
Yeah, it's a targeted drug. It's more of a genetic therapy.
Wow. Oh, like an early gene therapy.
Yeah, it's sort of like a gene therapy.
All right.
Okay, so what is the prognosis for this specific type of leukemia? The prognosis is 90%.
Wow, that's a very high
It's a very it's very
because
high
it's so
survival rate.
specific. So they
Yeah.
also have a very specific treatment for it.
Yes. So just by taking the medication or imatinib, sunitinib, then you have a very good chance of surviving this form of leukemia.
Wow.
Okay.
So to all those out there who suspect that they have leukemia, there are some bright spots and good news. There are treatments which are very, very effective for your condition.
Okay, now let's move on to the next form of leukemia, okay, which is the last. Okay, we have the chronic lymphoblastic leukemia. So for the chronic lymphoblastic leukemia or chronic lymphocytic leukemia, terms are interchangeable. You see these in the senior citizens, elderly patients, ages more than 65 and up. All right.
It's asymptomatic.
Yeah, it's usually asymptomatic. Usually, elderly patients don't really feel anything once they have this. But the prognosis is actually based on the signs and symptoms. So you have to be very careful with this form of leukemia because if you don't get treated for this form of leukemia early on, then the prognosis will not be as good anymore. Okay, so first let's go to the appearance of the complete blood count. Okay, what will you see in the complete blood count? So you will have numerous mature lymphocytes that are dysfunctional. Okay, so remember the difference between myelogenous and lymphoblastic. Here, the lymphocytes are the ones that are abnormal. So you see mature lymphocytes that are not working. Right? So next, let's move on to the prognosis. Okay, so here when we discuss the prognosis, I will be discussing both the signs and symptoms and the prognosis as well. Right? Because the signs and symptoms that you get from this type of leukemia, the prognosis is based from there. Okay, first is we have stage 0. Okay, stage 0 is lymphocytosis, meaning you have a lot of lymphocytes, numerous lymphocytes, but you do not feel anything. Okay, so at this stage, you still have a very low risk. The survival rate, 5-year survival rate is 95%. It's not like actually, it's
like a very, very good chance.
Yeah,
you
very
survive.
good chance of surviving for the next 5 years. It's actually not even. It's sort of like not even there. If you think about it, if you think about the chances. Okay. Now let's go to the next stage. Stage 1 is you have numerous lymphocytes, plus you have enlarged lymph nodes.
Oh, lymph nodes.
Lymph nodes from your neck, from your armpit, from your inguinal area. Okay, here in the private parts. Okay,
near
you
your
can feel
private
them,
areas,
Yes,
yeah.
but lymph nodes usually for this you can feel it at the neck.
Also, that's good because that's something that we can actually observe and
Yeah.
then we can be concerned
It's really,
about.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
really easy to palpate. When you feel a lump here, okay, something's wrong. You go for a checkup.
Yeah.
Okay, so where else would you be able to detect enlarged lymph nodes? Actually, okay, here in the lymph nodes area. Okay, here in the ear.
In the ear.
In the front of the ear. Okay,
Okay,
here
like this.
in front of the ear,
Ah.
behind the ear, over here.
Oh yeah, sometimes
Yeah,
when
you
they're
have-
very
you-
stressed,
yes,
there's a
you can feel-
nodule
Yeah, there's a nodule there, especially when you get cough and colds. Okay.
there.
So that is one part. Here under the chin,
Oh, I
yeah,
didn't know there was
lymph
one
nodes
here.
there.
Okay.
You have also lymph nodes here,
Mm.
under the jaw.
Okay.
Of course, like we discussed, on both sides of the neck. Here on your shoulders. Okay, you can also feel lymph nodes there. Here on your
Oh.
shoulders. Okay.
So those little bumps in our body, those are lymph
Yeah,
nodes?
yeah, those are lymph nodes. Okay, so once you have palpable lymph nodes and then your lymphocytes are really high, then
Gotta
yeah,
test
that,
for...
you have to get tested already for chronic lymphoblastic leukemia. So that is stage 1. Now for stage 1, the 5-year survival rate is 80%.
Wow, that's very good. It's
Yeah,
still,
still very good. Still very good.
almost a sure win.
Yeah. Now let's go to stage 2. So in stage 2, you have high lymphocyte counts, you have palpable lymph nodes,
Mhm.
but your liver and spleen are already enlarged.
Oh,
Okay?
can you feel when your spleen and liver is
Yes,
enlarged?
you can feel.
So straight away you feel discomfort, is it?
Especially with the liver.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's a capsule that is wrapping around the liver.
Ah.
So once that gets distended because of the enlarged liver, then you can feel some discomfort. But mind you, it's not readily noticeable. Yeah, so you have to get scanned for this.
Okay.
Okay. So the liver is located where? It's actually on your right.
Okay,
Right, just under your ribs. Okay,
Alright,
that is
okay.
where
That's where the
you can
liver
feel.
is.
That is where you can feel the liver. Okay, but in this case, once you have enlarged spleen, then yeah, there's a possibility that you can actually even feel it. Okay?
Wow.
And if your doctor is able to palpate your spleen, okay, that is a danger sign already. Okay, that means your leukemia has already metastasized to your spleen and your liver.
But yet I see the prognosis is still positive.
Yeah, still good. Still good. Okay?
Still 80%.
Yeah, still 80%.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why you have to get treated immediately. Because once you move to the stage 3, okay, stage 3. So in stage 3, you have again all of the signs, very high lymphocytes, palpable lymph nodes, spleen and liver are enlarged, but you already develop anemia. Once you develop anemia, survival rate drops to 65%.
Okay.
Okay, so that is already very dangerous, meaning
It's a 50-50 chance now.
yeah, it's a 50-50 chance now, and your bone marrow is actually saturated already with a lot of lymphocytes, and the red blood cells are actually being overpowered already. Okay, that's why you develop anemia. So, lastly, stage 4. Now you have elevated levels of lymphocytes. You have palpable lymph nodes. You have enlarged liver, enlarged spleen. You will develop anemia, but now you develop decreased platelet count or thrombocytopenia. Now this is an emergency already.
Because platelets are very important for us
Yes.
to heal. For clotting.
Yeah, platelets are very important for clotting. If you have decreased levels of platelets, you can bleed out. The 5-year survival rate for this stage 4, no, for this stage of chronic lymphoblastic leukemia is 25%.
Okay, so that's
And,
not a good.
Yeah, it's not a good thing. Now let's move on to the treatment for this. Okay, so for its treatment, I will divide it into 2 segments. No, management for stage 0 and management for stage 1 to 4. So for stage 0, again, stage 0 is what you just have elevated number of lymphocytes, but you don't actually feel anything. You have a good prognosis, then we just have to observe. Okay, because most of the time patients survive. For the next 5 years, and since we expect that these patients are already, very old, they can die from other reasons.
So really here at this stage is just live a healthy life.
Live a healthy lifestyle, try to live healthily, exercise, okay? Just
And so you get the benefit of a healthy lifestyle,
Yeah.
especially when you're old, that you can still run and you can
Yes,
enjoy your
yes,
life.
yes.
Right.
Okay, now let's move to the treatment for stages 1 to 4. For symptomatic, no, or the progressive type of chronic lymphoblastic leukemia, we have a number of treatments that we can do. So we have targeted therapy, we have immunotherapy. Okay, so for the targeted therapy, again, it's the tyrosine kinase inhibitors that is usually prescribed, or chemotherapy. Okay. Then for immunotherapy, we prescribe lenalidomide. Okay, so those are some of your options. And then for the refractory or the recurrent type of chronic lymphoblastic leukemia, then we really need to use radiation therapy already. Okay, especially to relieve symptoms and to improve quality of life. Okay.
So there we have it, Doc. We covered the 3-part series on leukemia, and chemotherapy, radiation therapy. All these are things that we can support with PIPA protocols as well.
Yes.
Those of us out there, normally we shouldn't be freaking out and being paranoid about developing leukemia.
Yes.
It's really very occupational related,
Yeah.
or location. If you stay somewhere near,
somewhere
where there's
near, or
contamination.
you were a soldier before who fought in wars that used biochemical weapons, might also be one of the reasons. Can it just be solely genetic? Yes, like chronic myelogenous leukemia. If you have the Philadelphia chromosome in you, you can live up to up to 60s, 70s, and have that. Okay, so those are risk factors. So these chromosomes, you have to, once you get these symptoms, you really have to get tested for these genetic abnormalities, because the treatment is really very good for if you have this genetic abnormality, which is the Philadelphia chromosome. Okay.
Doc, any last words you want to add before we go to the
So if
Q&A.
you're wondering, what is the benefit of PPAR products for leukemia, for managing leukemia? And diba, you have said before, Doc, Simply Nature PPARs actually protects the bone marrow when you undergo chemotherapy.
Yes.
And chemotherapy is really very important for this, because the one that is abnormal is the bone marrow. Okay? So now, if I protect the bone marrow, it doesn't get affected so much by the chemotherapy, then might the chemotherapy be nullified by
because you're trying to attack the bone marrow.
You're trying to attack the bone marrow. Yeah. So there's a specific way on how I prescribe Simply Nature PPAR so that it jives with the chemotherapy. Okay, so we have to do it in a way wherein both do not have significant interactions. Okay, so usually I do it. Usually I give the PPARs to patients after the chemo already, not before.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, so after the chemo already. Now, one of the benefits of Simply Nature PPARs, that's why I still prescribe it, is it's because one of the benefits is to promote cellular differentiation. Remember, for leukemia, the problem here is the maturation of cells, and that is specifically what Simply Nature PPARs do. It's to help your cells, or your bone marrow cells, mature. Okay, so that's why patients who undergo chemotherapy, who got their white blood cells, blood cell count obliterated, okay, destroyed, once they take Simply Nature PPARs liquid, your white blood cell count goes up. It's because of this specific benefit. Okay, that's why I still keep on prescribing. Okay?
Thank you, Doc. And really, this series helped me understand the cellular differentiation so well, and why patients, not only cancer patients, but maybe even from dengue, why when you take Simply Nature extracts, your white blood cell recovers so quickly because of the accelerated maturation. So with that, let's go to the many questions that are popping up in the screen right now. Let's go to our Ask Me Anything segment.
Hi everybody, good evening. My name is Sheila and I'll be facilitating the Q&A portion for tonight's webinar. Welcome. You are watching another episode of Simply a Webinar brought to you by Simply Nature. Tonight's episode is entitled Managing Severe Leukemia. There you go. I'm very sure that you have learned a lot from our two gentlemen. And we are very happy to see our doctor for tonight because they will be answering our questions now. Okay, so without further ado, I'd like to call on our CEO of Simply Nature, of course, Mr. Sean Lim, and of course, fresh from Korea, Dr. Jansen and Calalan.
Thank you everyone. I'm so happy today to have Dr. Jansen back because finally we can answer the medical questions. Doc, I never knew how much I needed you until you were gone, right? So it's absence makes the heart grow fonder. To all our viewers, thank you for tuning in again. At Simply Healed, we always like to inject a little bit of humor because cancer is such a serious illness. But we are not making light of the condition. So to all our new viewers, what we want to just share here is that the mental aspect, being hopeful, is the first part of your first step in fighting cancer. And as Dr. Jansen will always share, cancer is almost 100% treatable if caught early, especially the major cancers that are common like breast cancer. For other cancers like the leukemia that we have been talking about the last 3 weeks, things are a little bit more difficult, but with more knowledge, it'll give you, the viewer, a better handle on your strategies, on how you're going to approach your treatment of cancer. So Doc, welcome back.
Hello everyone. Glad to be back in the Philippines.
It's more fun in the Philippines. We don't know about that.
Yeah, so I heard there are a lot of questions that you gave a few weeks ago that weren't answered. So here's your opportunity to ask them again.
Yeah.
Then I'll answer all of your questions.
All right. So let's go, Sheila.
Thank you, Doc. We'll definitely be inserting some of the questions that were asked or we caught last 3 weeks ago. All right. So for the first question that we have today, from Ms. Roqueta, asked or we caught last 3 weeks ago. All right. So for the first question that we have today, who's that very beautiful voice?
Okay, sorry. I was playing with the screens. My bad.
No worries.
Yeah.
Alright, so for the question coming from Ms. Roqueta, what are the side effects of imatinib if taken for a long time, for 5 years or more?
Okay. Of course, one of the side effects would be nausea, vomiting. Sometimes you can have diarrhea. Sometimes it's anemia actually. Okay. So those are some of the side effects, and your platelet count can actually go down. So it's very important when you are taking imatinib for a very long period of time, that like 5 years, you should have regular follow-ups with your doctor. So regular blood exams is quite prudent. Okay.
Well, I see a comment by Sheila. AML here with stage 4, candidate for bone marrow transplant. Yeah, we'll join you in prayer, and the Bible says where 2 or more agree on a matter, it is done. So let us agree together with you that you will get your donor and soon, right? Really soon. Okay, so if we can help in any way, Sheila, please just drop us a message. All right, if you would like to consult with Dr. Jansen, please. Go ahead, and I hope this 3-part series has been interesting to you, especially since you are an AML patient. And thank you again for being with us.
Thank you, Ms. Sheila. All right, for the next question that we have here, coming from Ms. Oksana. My family has a history of blood cancer. When and what age is the best to get tested if you have a chance to get it or catch it?
Okay, there is no standardized screening test for leukemia or blood cancers, no? The only time that we get to detect it is when you do your routine blood exam for newborn, for kids. Okay, that's the only time. Okay, But in terms of screening at a specific age and then having tested at a specific age, we don't have it yet. The best way to get tested or the best test for you to have in order to get a diagnosis or just a suspected diagnosis of leukemia is the complete blood count still, okay? Because in the complete blood count, as what I have shown in the previous 2 weeks, 2 weeks ago, for AML, ALL, CML, and CLL, it's the complete blood count picture. Okay? If you have a white blood cell count that is, in the range of tens of thousands or 100,000, then we would suspect blood cancer or leukemia. Then once a doctor detects that, then the doctor would recommend or request further tests, to know which specific type of blood cancer you have. Okay, so it's the complete blood count. But at what age you need to get tested, there's no standardized age. Okay?
Thank you, Dr. Jansen. Okay, would you like to add to that, Sir Sean?
No, I'm fine. Yeah, Dr. Jansen answered it. I'm just so happy he's here to answer the medical questions.
I'm sure the viewers are also happy. All right. Okay, coming from our Lilibet from the Philippines.
Oh, Lilibet. Yes.
Yes, and Miss Lily from Malaysia is also present. Thank you
hi,
for
Lily.
watching us again.
Thank you for always joining us every week, Lily. Please share with your fellow friends in Malaysia as well, all over the world, because it's we're gonna make an effort to also start to share our program in Singapore, because I think in Malaysia and Singapore there's this issue, right, that it's not easy to talk to our doctors. In fact, our doctors don't want to talk usually. Then normally we end up having to go to the Lily Jianghu 医生, right? We have to go to the more unorthodox or the integrative or the alternative doctors. Then they speak more. So really our program here, Lily, you've also been with us for some time. You will notice that our content is really very open, integrated, right? We talk about many things that your Jianghu 医生 will actually talk about, but we give it based on science, and also coming from Dr. Jansen, who's actually a medical doctor. It's really, I think, good advice, because for myself, I really feel that in Singapore and Malaysia, we swing either to totally natural, or in Philippines as well, totally natural or totally conventional.
Yes.
But that is not the best case for a patient. You should actually take the best of both worlds. So to our viewers, I really hope that you can share with more friends, especially anybody who has cancer. I think that this is a great resource for them.
Yes, in fact, sir, I just want to, Sir Sean and Dr. Jansen, I just want to let you know that we have a lot of registrants coming from abroad.
Oh,
and,
what countries today? What countries were the registrants?
The usual, we have the Brunei, we have the Malaysia, of course. We also have patients who are able to reach us coming from the US as well.
Oh.
So hello.
Wow.
And also Cyprus.
Yeah, actually tomorrow, Dr. Jansen, you have a consultation with US, and it's not it's an American US. So yeah, so for everyone that's listening, this is the good news. So if you have friends and relatives anywhere in the world, whatever that you like that we share over here, and you want them to hear it and maybe even consult with myself or Dr. Jansen. Most of the time it's Dr. Jansen, unless it's on PIPA technicalities. Right? Yeah, we can do it. Right? We can do it. So let's spread the word and beat cancer together. Yeah.
Yes, very encouraging. All right, coming from Miss Lily, can anemia lead to leukemia?
No. Anemia and leukemia are two very different diseases. Okay? Although, of course, if you have leukemia, then there is a chance that you can be anemia. So, in this case, then the anemia is a consequence of leukemia. Okay? It's a complication of leukemia. But in and of itself, no, by saying that you are anemic, there are a lot of reasons why a patient can be anemic. Okay, the patient might be bleeding. If the patient is a female, then the patient might be, you know, menstruating, or malnutrition. The patient is not taking in adequate amounts of iron, or there's a genetic problem with, no, not really a genetic problem, no, but there is a gene that the patient inherited from his or her ancestors, like thalassemia. Okay, so in this case, then that's why the patient has anemia. So the anemia here is a symptom. Okay, but for leukemia is different, no? So leukemia is the disease itself. It's blood cancer. Okay, so please don't be confused. Okay, so anemia and leukemia are two very different disease entities. Okay.
Yes, very.
So that's good news, because you know we are always afraid when it comes to cancer. We are always afraid if our myoma will become cancer,
Yes.
if our growth or a little ulcer in the stomach will become cancer.
Yes,
So,
because because sometimes these medical terms are, you know, they all sound alike. I mean, imia,
Yes.
imia, oma.
Yeah. So most of the cases, it's these other developments are the offshoot if you already have cancer, and many of them don't actually cause cancer. So cancer is still largely caused by genetics is one of them,
genetics
and
one of
lifestyle,
them, and
really
lifestyle.
just lifestyle.
Yes.
But you know what is important is that if you have things like stomach ulcers, myomas, it's a good indication that your lifestyle is on track to develop cancer. Not the myoma that you have now, not the stomach ulcer that you have now. That may not become cancerous, but what is causing the ulcer? What's causing your constant? For example, you always catch chest colds and things like that. Those things in the long run will actually lead to cancer. In fact, you know, Doc is the doctor. I have the pleasure in the research side, so I've met researchers who research pathologists who research how cancers develop, and basically all researchers agree now, and I think doctors too. You can literally say that fast food causes cancer. Yeah, fast food causes you to have metabolic syndromes. Metabolic syndromes make your body a fertile ground for cancer to develop.
That's true.
So basically, once you start eating fast food and you eat a lot of it, 40 years down the line, cancer is going to be in your future. So if you start eating at 6 years old, which is what the Gen Z start eating fast food, when they're in their early 40s, many of them might already start developing cancer. So this is something for the parents to really take note of. You know, try not to get your kids to be on fast food too much. Don't make it a treat, because if you make it a treat, they think it's the best thing in the world. Yeah. Back to the question, Sheila. Sorry for the sidetrack.
No worries. Thank you, Sir Sean, and thank you, Dr. Jansen. All right, coming from Miss Julieta, I have been taking nilotinib for 8 years, and I'm 72 years old. How long do you think I would survive CML? How many years yet?
Wow.
I think she needs
You're
encouragement.
You're 72 years old already. Wow, and then you're taking nilotinib. Actually, for a patient with leukemia, no, at 72 years old, that's a pretty long life already. Yeah, and I won't be surprised if you live until 80 plus, you know. Yeah, just continue taking nilotinib. Next question is, would you, you've already been taking it for 8 years already. Would, at some point in the future, would it come to a point that that nilotinib will be stopped for you because you're well enough? I believe so, yes. Okay, because CML patients who are on nilotinib, they tend to go on remission.
Wow, good news.
Yes,
good news, Julieta.
However, of course, don't stop it on your own. There has to be the consent of your onco. If it's the right time for you to stop taking it, then stop taking it. But for now, if there's still there's no go signal from your doctor yet, then it's in your best interest to continue taking it. And I believe that you have lived until 72 years old also because of nilotinib. Okay?
Wow. Doc, you know, when I meet hear viewers like that, I'm so excited for them because actually I wanted to encourage Julieta that, you know, go for quality of life now.
Yes,
you know, really go for quality of life. I'm so curious if you are still very active. The fact that you want to live more years, I'm hopeful that you are enjoying your life. That's why you want to live a few more years. So I think what's really would be interesting and important for you is maybe really develop more. I mean, for example, enjoy your life. Eat to enjoy, but also learn to live more healthily because to keep yourself mobile, to keep yourself strong for the remaining years that you will have. So very excited for you. If you want a nutritional lifestyle adjustment or just a review to make sure that everything is great, you know, please consult with Dr. Jansen. If you are perfectly fine, then let me really encourage you to take PPAR tablets at the minimum, right? I'm perfectly healthy. I'm 48 years old. As you can see on the video, I look almost the same age as Dr. Jansen. No, okay, but I'm actually like almost, 15 years your senior, right?
Yes.
So for Julieta, you know, the PPAR tablets are one of the best daily supplements you can take. It will keep you strong. It helps to manage the metabolic syndromes as well. So that's really good. And one of the common first benefits you will see in the first first week of taking PPAR tablets is that your energy level will go up. And I really define being young not by your age, but basically by how you feel. If you can run with your grandchildren, you are young, right? If you are only 45 but you can't even run with your kids because you're so tired, then you're old. So I look at energy level as the true indication of your age. So for Julieta, can I encourage you? You know, if you are not on PPAR tablets, please go on it. And if you want to explore more on what PPARs can do for you and what more you can squeeze out of your lifestyle to get a higher quality of life, please go for a consult with Dr. Jansen.
God bless you, Miss. God bless you, ma'am. All right, coming from Mr. Sammy. Hello, good evening po, Doc. Bakit po kaya prone sa pasa ang leukemia and cancer patients? Why are cancer patients and leukemia patients prone to bruises?
For example, no, of course, if you're undergoing treatment like chemotherapy, of course, if you're undergoing that kind of treatment, no, the blood vessels will be more inflamed. Okay, so it's easy to burst. Okay, it's easy to damage your blood vessels. Now, if the blood vessels are easily damaged, then it can burst, especially the small ones, the capillaries, then you can bruise. Okay, and also, that is a more manageable side effect of chemotherapy. Not really scary. Once you're off chemotherapy, you can recover well, and the bruise goes away on its own. But a more sinister side effect would be if your platelet count is already quite low. That's why you get easy bruising.
Also, you're not healing, not clogging.
Yes, because of the very low platelet count. Then that is a different story. Now, if that happens, you need to get treated. Okay, and possibly, the chemotherapy or the treatment or the drug that you are on would have to be stopped. Okay.
Doc, platelets, I remember based on your first 2 weeks ago, your first lecture in this series, platelets are platelets one of the maturation results from blood stem cells? No.
Not really.
Okay.
Platelets are mainly used for clotting.
But where are they? Where are platelets?
It's also produced in the bone marrow.
In the bone marrow also, right?
So that's why if you are someone who is on chemotherapy, especially those very young kids, right? They are on chemotherapy for a very long period of time. Then lots of cycles of chemotherapy.
Yeah.
So the bone marrow toxicity is really quite bad. So in that sense, the production or the maturation of platelets from the bone marrow will be depressed, or will be quite low because of the toxicity.
Sheila, your son Dominic was actually on many cycles of radiation therapy and chemotherapy. Did he bruise easily during those periods?
At the onset of the diagnosis, he does have some bruises. And actually, I just realized, Dr. Jansen, that now it makes sense that why BMA or bone marrow aspiration is always a part of diagnostics before going through the chemotherapy to understand the status. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Jansen. Okay. For another question coming from Miss Miles. Miss Miles is actually from Cyprus. Hello. Thank you for watching.
Wow. And Julieta is from Australia. Julieta, I think we can make it available in Australia. I know your TGA, Australians, TGA is pretty strict on supplements flying in. Let me check with our logistics whether they have clients that ship to Australia. I do know that there is a pastor that I always bless in New Zealand, and we ship regularly to him in New Zealand. So Sheila, can you take note of Miss Julieta and check with Louis and see if we can easily ship to Australia. So Julieta, thank you for joining us today.
Yes, I just want to add very quickly that there's really good news because we were talking about bone marrow, and there's good news with PPARs because it does help prevent deterioration even during the chemotherapy.
That's why I was asking you, Doc, about where the platelets were created, because one of the good effects of PPARs is that it helps with maturation of the cells.
Yes.
So
and also it decreases the bone marrow toxicity. So in that sense, it's a two-pronged.
Yeah, two-pronged. You get two benefits, right? You protect the factory and you increase the quality of the production. Right.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Miss Maz is, I think, interested with how about the protocol, the PPARS protocol for her child who is 2 years old with hemophilia B complications.
Hemophilia B, okay. I suggest you go for a consult. Hemophilia B is quite rare.
Okay.
Actually, it is one of the rare genetic diseases that has the blood has trouble clotting.
Okay. So for what's her name again? Sorry, Sheila, I missed the name.
Oh, Miles. Yes, Miles Mananzan.
So Miles, first of all, there's a special cooperation between Simply Healed, which is Dr. Jansen's practice, and Simply Nature. We're actually two different companies, but we came together as friends. All right. This health talk that we do every Thursday, we have a special deal, right? Which is that the consultation, whatever you pay for the consultation, a large portion of it or almost all of it can be consumed or be used as credit for any products that you will buy, right? So in other words, the consult almost becomes free. So please, if you're considering, then don't hesitate. Avail the consult, and when you will get reimbursed back when you buy the product. So there's no reason why you shouldn't go for the consult. So please do.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you, sir. All right, coming from Mr. Keta. I'm 58 years old when diagnosed of CML. I'm now 65. I have maintenance chemo pill, which I will be taking for life according to my doctor. Will it still be possible to stop taking the chemo pill?
Yes. Just like what I have explained earlier, no? For CML, it's not forever that you will take the immunotherapy or the medication that you're taking. Okay. However, it might take quite a very long time. However, remission is not impossible. Okay. So you have to be on close follow-up with your doctor as well, so that when the time comes that when the parameters are correct, then that's the time that the doctor can try to stop the medication, then see if you can tolerate it.
I'm very excited to ask the next question because coming from the list of viewers, here's the thing, Doc. The viewers are always asking, can they go off this medication, and then they are told by their uncle that they're going to be on it for life, right? Yes. So suddenly you say that yes, they can go off. So I'm remembering your patient's story. Cecile. So here's the strategy for the viewers here who are asking this question. Your uncle told you you'll be on this chemo drug for life, and then you just asked Dr. Jansen, and then he said it's possible to go off it. So the question here is, what's the strategy on how to go off it, right? Okay, if you ask your uncle tomorrow, and if you don't mention Dr. Jansen's name, because you're gonna get him gonna argue. If you go ask your doctor tomorrow again, he'll tell you, no, you have to take this drug for life. So how come we are saying this? Okay, here is what happened to Cecile, Dr. Jansen's patient for 4th stage breast cancer. She was given or prescribed 8 cycles of
8 cycles
chemotherapy. So imagine Cecile asking her doc, can I do less than 8 cycles? Her doctor will say, no, you have to do 8 cycles, right? So he will prepare her as they start the chemotherapy. You got to do 8 cycles, and the uncle will say, remember, you got to finish all 8. Don't drop out halfway. Be prepared all 8. But here's the thing. Under the care of Dr. Jansen and Dr. Jansen's protocol, which works together with the chemotherapy, the uncle himself stopped it at 6. So this is the very same uncle who said you cannot do less than the prescribed.
Yes.
But yet he was the one who stopped it at 6. So here's my clear advice to you. If you ask your uncle, they will say you will be on the chemo drug for life. But I believe because in the mind of your uncle, he can't see how you would actually improve without the medication. Because most patients don't, and most patients are not disciplined to change lifestyle. So the doctors just want to prepare the patients. I know what you're going to do. You're going to go home and eat ice cream. I know what you're going to do. You're going to go every weekend, eat barbecue the moment you are your cancer's under control. So he's just preparing you to say, yeah, you're going to be on it for life. Now, what will stop your chemo drugs, as Dr. Jansen say, he don't stop it arbitrarily. He's telling you to continue to see your uncle. But, right, what you do, the protocols that you work with Dr. Jansen, when your condition improves and when you go for those regular checkup with your uncle, and when he looks at the diagnostics, he's going to also realize, wait a minute, you don't need this drug anymore. So your way to get off the drug is to actually really work with Dr. Jansen, continue to take your chemo drug, see the improvement in your condition, and it will be your uncle himself who will be surprised, and he will actually stop your medication. So you don't have to stop it by yourself, and Dr. Jansen will definitely not encourage you to do so. He will tell you to go back and see your uncle. But again, that's the reason why your uncle says you're going to be on it for life, and Dr. Jansen says, it's possible for you to go off it. How we achieve that is work with Dr. Jansen, and your uncle, when he sees the diagnostics during your next checkup, or maybe the checkup after next, he himself will stop the medication, just as Dr. Jansen's patient Cecile. 8 cycles became 6 cycles.
Yes, and we always reiterate that here in Simply Nature, one of the goals that we want for you is to have a very good relationship with your doctors, regardless if it's integrative or conventional. That's one of the goals.
Yes.
All right. Coming from Ms. Lilibet, what's the survival rate for leukemia?
Oh, that is a very general question.
Okay, how about stage? Okay, leukemia. Most leukemias are discovered at what stage?
During the first stage.
Wow, okay.
Most of them.
Okay, so for first stage, what's the prognosis?
For the first stage or early stage, it's quite high. It's at least 70%.
70%. Yes, that's a very good chance.
Yeah, that's a very good chance as long as you get treated. As long as you go for the chemotherapy. Because if you're not going for the chemotherapy, survival rate is quite low. Okay?
Especially if it goes to the next stage.
Yes. Also, depends on what type of leukemia and at what age did the person got the leukemia. So, very general question, but just to give you an idea, what if we combine all leukemia subtypes? Okay, highest survival rate will be at the younger age population. Okay, so I give you an average number, no? Ballpark figure is 70% survival.
Wow, that's a good
average. Okay?
70%.
Average,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. I always thought leukemia, like if you get leukemia, you're dead. You know, that's what. I mean, from my age group when we were young. Yeah.
Because back then there are the drugs for leukemia are not quite well developed yet, but in this decade, no, 2022, the medications are quite okay already. It really does a wonderful job. So that's why you have that very good prognosis. However, for the older age population, if you get leukemia, then survival rate on average would be around 20 to 30%. Okay? Yeah, so that's the average 5-year survival rate. Okay? But at the older population, there are a lot of confounding factors because, well, you're old, so there will be a lot of other.
Yeah, you might have high blood pressure, diabetes, weak liver, kidney. All that is adds to the complication.
It adds to the complications. Even if we control in the studies, no, even if we control for these stuff, so this means that if we nullify their effect, okay, the nullification will only be on the mathematical level on how they compute the data. But of course, on an individual basis, of course, being hypertensive or being diabetic would have a big impact on the leukemia itself. Okay, so yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so that's why it's so important to, in our program, we always encourage the viewers to understand that you don't just focus on your cancer. Get your diabetes, your metabolic syndromes under control. Learn to eat well, right? That it all adds up. 5% here, 5% here, 5% here. That changes your success rate from 40% to 80%. That's a huge change, right? So be hopeful.
Get all the help.
Yeah, get all the help. Understand. So we always encourage you to ask questions. The more you understand, the more you can attack cancer correctly and successfully.
Thank you, Sir Sean. All right, coming from Miss Eileen Macedo. Hello, my son is turning 12 years old next month, just last year. Actually, this question was asked to us ahead of time. And the son of Miss Eileen is actually celebrating his birthday today.
Wow, happy birthday!
Happy birthday. Alright, okay, so just last year he was diagnosed with ALL. Just want to know what kind of milk is good for him.
Soy milk.
Unsweetened soy milk.
Yes, unsweetened.
Yes. Unsweetened soy
But if you can get it really, really fresh, soybeans, right? Freshly ground soybeans, you get the juice, the milk of the soybeans, then that is the ultimate milk that you can give. Yeah, very fresh, still packed with antioxidants. Yeah, soy milk is really good for leukemia.
And actually, for this viewer, since your son is young and he has many years of milk requirement ahead of him, you might want to consider just shopping around. There are now portable or home soy milk making machines. All right, so because if you have a kid at home that needs to drink a lot of it, that might be something, Eileen, you could actually look into. They're usually not very expensive. The only thing that you always have to soak your soybean beans for at least 12 hours. They are very hard.
I just remember
in
Korea,
in Taiwan, in Korea, I think they have these home machines where you just pour the soybean in, it makes your own.
Yes.
We should import this for our viewers.
Actually, yes, because in Korea, here in the Philippines, we give away service water in restaurants, right?
Yes.
In Korea, they give away soya milk, service
yes.
soya milk.
There's a Korean restaurant here in Makati that I go to. As their appetizer, as a free dish, they actually give, they make their own bean curd, fresh. It's really nice. So I mean, to Eileen, Doc, we should go and look in Korea and import in, or at least find a distributor so our viewers can really get this. So yeah, just like it's like a home bread maker.
Yes.
I don't know whether you guys know, in Taiwan, it's very common bread maker. You crack your eggs, flour, everything, you just dump it in there, and then you just wait 45 minutes, boom, bread comes out. It's an automatic bread maker. So now they also have automatic soya bean makers. Not in Philippines because in Philippines we always eat tauhu. But actually in countries like Korea and Taiwan, they drink a lot of soy milk.
Yes, a lot.
So that's why they have machines that make automatic soy milk at home. So yeah, that came to my mind, Eileen. Yeah, let me ask another question for Eileen. Is soy milk as good as cow's milk for protein and things like that?
If you're talking about protein content, then it's approximately the same amount of protein.
Almost the same. Wow,
Almost
that's
the
great.
same. However, of course, cow's milk has the hormones, animal estrogen,
Animal hormones,
yeah,
estrogens.
fat.
That's not
animal
good.
Protein,
Not good
animal
for
fat.
cancer patients.
Not good for cancer patients because animal fat and animal protein can increase what we call IGF-1. So the IGF-1 is the culprit that promotes tumor growth inside us humans. Okay, so for soybeans, no, it has phytoestrogen, so plant estrogen. So that is very different from animal estrogen. Okay, so very different receptors that it acts on. So for plant estrogens, it mainly acts on your uterus, the bones. Yeah, those two mainly. Okay, but for animal estrogen, yeah, for women that would be your breast, for men that would be our prostate, and many others. Okay, so in general, and of course, in terms of antioxidants, soybeans or soya milk would have more antioxidants.
Then that's good.
Than the cow's milk. Okay.
Doc, if let's say Eileen's son is drinking soy milk and he's eating more plant-based protein, plant-based diet,
yeah.
and if sometimes parents see their kids they're not plump enough, all right, would getting like protein supplement drinks like you go to GNC or those healthy options if you're in Philippines, right? You have the whey protein.
Yeah.
There are plant protein also.
Yeah.
So would that be advisable for a child if let's say they're growing a month? Would they go for a consult to know whether?
It actually depends on how physically active your kid is.
Okay.
If at 12 years of age,
Yeah, because they're growing at this point, hitting puberty.
Yes, and they're beginning to explore the
more
sports,
physical sports, yeah.
that they like. So if your kid tends to be more athletic, then the soy protein powders, plant protein powder isolates would be okay for them to take, but don't just rely on those. Okay,
you gotta eat.
So you gotta eat real food.
And I asked this question because me and my wife, Miss Jaslyn, we used to drink a lot of Milo. All right, because we grew up. Milo did a lot of advertising in Singapore, so we grew up thinking.
Here in the Philippines as well.
Here too.
I grew up drinking Milo as well.
Okay, and a little bit of digress. I hope this is interesting so that we don't just talk about cancer. Those of you who grew up in Philippines probably don't know. Milo tastes very different when produced from different countries. Okay, so if you go to Singapore, you would actually see Milo, two different packaging. And they'll put it very clear on the label. Made in Australia or made in Malaysia. Okay, very, very different. The ones that are made in Australia taste different, and walang, there's no residue. Okay, you will notice, and I noticed when I first came to Philippines, when I drank Philippines Milo, if you stir it and you mix it and you drink, there's always residue, grainy residue at the bottom of the cup. All right. If you get the Australia formula, it doesn't have. The ingredients are actually different. And the Australia one is like 20% more expensive than the Malaysia one, and the Malaysia one is like the Philippine one. All right. So even in Milo, same brand, same product, because they don't say anything, there are different quality levels. Okay. So and what we also notice is over the years, even the Australian formula of Milo, it seems to be less and less chocolatey. And more thick, but the thickness doesn't come from like a good strong chocolate taste. It comes then we read, they put like palm oil,
Yeah.
emulsifiers.
Emulsifiers.
So we realized a lot of the Milo I drink today is not the same Milo I drank when I was a kid 20 years ago. Tastes totally different. It's like more watered down taste compared to that. And because of that, me and my wife don't feel so confident anymore because the price of Milo has gone up, but over the years the ingredients price have gone up even more. So they managed to stay the same price because they are not really using the same ingredients anymore. Yeah.
Change the ingredients.
So what we decided to do is we changed our early morning Milo drink. Now my wife drinks the plant protein powder, chocolate flavor. All right.
Does it taste better?
It took a little bit of. It's not as sweet. Okay. And we do normally when you do protein drinks, you do with cold water, right?
Yes.
But my wife makes it with hot water because it's a Milo replacement. But after a while, she got used to it. So as a mom, Eileen, that's something that you can do for your kids. And for those with younger kids, right, you can do this early on, so they never develop a preference for the sweet Milo taste. They were so used to the less sweet stuff that'll be just good for your kids, right?
Yeah.
So I think for all the parents in this viewer in this program today, especially those with cancer, this is a great difference. No very little sugar. It's all plant-based. No animal fats. No animal hormones in there. It's just so much better. So much better.
What kind of plant protein powder did you get?
We buy it from Healthy Options. It's a lot more expensive than Milo, but it's a lot healthier. I don't know the brand name.
But do you know what kind of?
Oh, it's a mix of pea
and
soy.
Very good.
Yeah, pea and soy.
Pea and soy.
Yeah. I after sitting and listening to Dr. Jansen so much, I'm so careful in case he asks me questions like this live. I'm very careful when I buy
Dr.
stuff.
Jansen, you'll be proud of Sir Sean when he was answering the questions last 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. I was answering some quasi-medical questions. I say my portion here is I'm more on the research side, so yeah.
And I couldn't agree more with what you said. For kids out there, most especially those who have diagnosis, this is the best time to train your kids' taste buds to get and always choose the healthier option.
Yeah, just to encourage everybody again, I have a friend who has 3 kids. All of them are world music champions.
Wow.
Yeah. So when I went out and eat with them, I offered them, "Do you want to drink Coke?" They look at me like, why would I want to drink Coke?
Nice.
Yeah, and then I said, "You want cold water?" I mean, that's the standard go-to for 12-year-olds, right? They look at me like, why would I drink cold water? So I was totally shocked. I felt so ashamed. I didn't dare to drink soft drinks. Thank goodness I don't drink soft drinks anyway. But I do enjoy, when I go out and eat or have guests, that's my excuse that I will drink cold water, because my wife normally will look at me funny if I drink ice water, right? She wants me to drink warm water all the time. Okay, so I was so shocked that the children don't want Coke, don't want cold water. So that's because as performers, their voice is important. Yeah, so they never drank cold water and they never developed the taste. And they actually don't like to drink cold water. That's amazing. So for all the parents out there, this can be done. If you train your kids early, this will keep them very, very healthy for the rest of their lives. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sir Sean and Dr. Jansen. The correct question is kind of in line with what we were talking about, because coming from Ms. DeVay husband, what about the patient's diet? Could that lead to leukemia?
Oh no. Dietary factors cannot cause leukemia. Chemicals can. There is this chemical benzene. Benzene can be found in smoking. In smoking, no, in cigarettes. Smoking in cigarettes. So yeah, from smoking you can get leukemia. Alcohol, yes, alcohol, drink alcoholic beverages as well. Aside from that, exposure to radiation, like what the Japanese experience
In World War.
after World War II. What else? Okay. Exposure to radiation, so it can be an occupational hazard nowadays. So if you are someone working in a radiation facility, in a power plant, what else? In a
Medical center.
medical centers, no? So that is one of the occupational risk, occupational hazards. Okay, so yeah.
But Doc, you mentioned that dietary considerations don't really cause leukemia, but they cause other types of cancer. Right?
Yes.
So for the viewer who asked this question, it may not cause leukemia because leukemia as a cancer type is more genetic and more mutation oriented. But the other cancers, the other common cancers like breast cancer, colon cancer, all those are caused by dietary lifestyle. So it's still have to make sure that you take the right diet.
It's a long list
Yes,
of so many foods.
Yes.
Right? There you go. All right. Coming from our one of our VIPs, Miss Cara Gazarate. Thank you again for watching us.
Hi, Miss Cora. Yeah.
Yes. Question is, I am scheduled to go for chemo this October. Is it okay? Is cystatin and paclitaxel, is that correct? Are okay to be taken as chemo drugs? I am very scared to go for chemo.
Oh, okay. Before Doc, you answer, let me just assure her one thing. Okay, that great news. We actually tested our PEPA extracts with the very chemo drugs that you're taking, cisplatin, and what we found is that our Simply Nature liquid extract especially protects your bone marrow, and you heard from today's lecture how important the bone marrow is, all right, not only for leukemia but also for all types of cancer, right? It protects it, right? It literally keeps it away from damage, so you don't have to be afraid of your chemo as long as you go take the Simply Nature extracts together with that. So for the protocol and more medical explanation, I'll give it to Dr. Jansen.
Yes, I suggest for you to go for a consult, no, to know the exact protocol.
The exact amount, the
because
dosage.
I usually tailor that to the patient, so I have to consider a lot of factors to give the right recommendation. But please, don't be afraid. Even though you are taking two kinds of chemotherapy drugs, cisplatin and paclitaxel, these two chemotherapy drugs can be toxic, yes. So it's very understandable that you are quite afraid. However, please realize that you're not alone, right? So we have the help of Simply Nature products that can help mitigate the side effects, and also not just the side effects, okay? Cisplatin and PPAR agonists, no, I have been shown to work in synergy.
Yeah.
So cisplatin, the effect of cisplatin against the cancer cells will, let me rephrase this better. Cancer cells will die more because of cisplatin in combination with PPAR agonists.
Wow.
Yeah, okay? So imagine cisplatin is a soldier, okay? And you have 10 cancer cells. So let's say, for example, one cisplatin can kill 10 cancer cells normally. But with a PPAR agonist, one cisplatin can kill probably around 20-30 cancer cells.
Wow.
So it works like that.
So maybe for Miss Cora, we never know. She might end up having to take less chemo sessions, just like Miss Cecile.
Yes. Also, so it's not just it making it more effective, no. So when it comes to the healthy cells, since PPAR agonists helps cell maturation, so the healthy cells, of course, when the healthy cells get exposed to cisplatin, paclitaxel, they will also die. However, the replenishment of healthy cells will also be much faster because of the PPAR agonist, but not the cancer cells, okay? So these are different. The PPAR agonist will not stimulate the growth of the cancer. Okay, it will help the healthy cells grow. Okay, so that in between cycles you recover much faster in preparation for the next. Okay, so one of the reasons why patients tend to stop chemotherapy prematurely or they don't finish chemotherapy is because it's so the side effects are too bad. It's so bad that they cannot go on to the next cycle anymore. So when you are taking PPAR agonists as well, no, the recovery time will be much faster, so that you can by the time that you are scheduled for the next chemotherapy session, your body is ready already to have its next round. Okay,
so don't be afraid, Miss Cora. We will be here with you all the way. So next week, I hope you will update us about how it felt going through your first session of chemotherapy.
Yes,
all right, and we will be here to encourage you, to answer any questions, and to support you. And your testimony will be a great encouragement to the rest of the community here. So we'll be praying for you for your chemo, and make sure that you start your chemo together with your Simply Nature protocols, because that's what Dominic did, Sheila's son, when he had to go for combination almost 40 radiation and chemotherapy sessions. So so important. So you will do well, all right, Miss Cora? All right, you will do well.
Don't worry, Miss Cora. I will keep in touch with you. Don't worry.
All right.
Okay. All right. I know that this question has been asked a while ago, but maybe she got in a bit late. Just maybe reconfirm again the answer coming from Ms. Anam. Good day. What is the long-term side effect of imatinib again?
Okay, long-term side effects would be the platelet count can go down. Okay, that is one of the parameters that doctors monitor when you are taking imatinib in a very long period of time, because if this is not monitored, then you can bruise easily. You can bleed. I mean, you can have nosebleeds. Your gums can bleed. Okay, so that is one of the more important side effects that has to be monitored. But aside from that, of course, you can feel the typical headaches, nausea, vomiting, these things, when taking imatinib. Okay.
Thank you, Doc. Hi. Just before we ask another question, I just want to greet our avid viewers, of course, Miss Domsky Jang from Korea. Hello, thank you for watching us.
Wow.
Okay. And of course, Miss Sylvia Ilaga. Good evening.
Oh, too bad you missed Doc Jansen. He was actually in Seoul, Korea last week.
Yes. He was in Myeongdong first, then went to Gangnam, stayed there for a while. Yeah, then went to Insadong.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All right. Okay. Well, this this question, maybe he was not able to watch the first few parts, because the question is coming from Mr. Mano. What are the symptoms of leukemia?
Symptoms of leukemia usually asymptomatic, but again, depends on what kind of leukemia. Okay. So yeah, depends on what kind of leukemia.
So if leukemia is generally asymptomatic because you can't see, it's not like it's a lump, right?
Yes.
How do people actually end up finding out that they have leukemia?
CBC count.
CBC
It's usually routine.
Yeah, so it's we for almost all diagnostics you will do your your blood cell counts, right? White and red blood cell counts. So when it's abnormally low,
abnormally white blood cell count, abnormally high, not the typical, the upper limit is 10, right? Then you get 11 or 10.5, not that, okay? What is abnormal here is in the hundreds of thousands. Okay.
Wow, you mean normal is 10 and then the person
you get 100,000.
Wow,
so
that's a big difference.
Big difference, okay? Sometimes just tens of thousands. No, you can have a reading of 30,000 white blood cell count. So at those levels, then we will suspect blood cancer already.
So if you often go for regular diagnostics like annual medical checkup, or if you have any other discomfort and you do a normal CBC, then you will probably detect your cancer. Oh, so that's why leukemia can be detected early because of because of how common we do blood tests.
But however, to answer your question, symptoms, okay. So one of the symptoms or one of the signs that a person can have leukemia is, of course, realize leukemia is blood cancer. So you have abnormally functioning blood cells. So you have three kinds of blood cells: your white blood cell, red blood cell, and platelets. Okay, the symptoms can be derived from these three. Okay, so let's start first with red blood cells. So red blood cells, a low count or an abnormally functioning red blood cell will lead to anemia. Okay, so you can be pale, you can have iron deficiency, you can have shortness of breath, you can fatigue easily. So these symptoms are actually very non-specific if you realize. Okay, these signs and symptoms can be signs and symptoms of other diseases as well. So be careful, okay? Don't interpret this for anything that you feel, okay? So next, let's go to white blood cell count. So the main function of white blood cells is to protect our body from infections. So if you have an abnormally functioning white blood cell, then your risk for infection is high. So you get repeated respiratory tract infections, repeated colds, coughing, you get frequent UTIs. Okay, so these things, okay? So next is platelets. So the main function of platelets is to help clotting. So if you have an abnormally functioning platelet, then you risk easy bruisability, okay? So it's very easy for you to bruise. So your gums can bleed when you are brushing your teeth very easily. Then sometimes you get nosebleeds out of the blue. But of course, these symptoms have to be together, okay? It doesn't mean that out of the blue your nose just bled, no? Then immediately you have leukemia, no. Okay, so it has to be correlated with the proper test. So you have to talk to your doctor if indeed you have leukemia. However, if you go to a doctor, usually it's not leukemia that is the first diagnosis that the doctor immediately thinks of, because leukemia is quite rare, especially if it's especially if you are already an adult. Okay, so leukemia will be probably quite at the last of the list, no. So other diagnoses will have to be considered first, confirmed first, get you treated before the doctor considers a diagnosis of probably blood cancer or leukemia. Okay, so please take this with a grain of salt, okay?
Yeah. Doc, even though we are covering a very rare cancer, I really found this series to be so helpful because as I understood what you were talking about, it helped me understand. Sometimes people ask me this question, right? Oh, PPAR strengthens your body's good cells and immune system. If it strengthens the cells, won't it also strengthen the cancer cell? But from this lecture, I truly understand. Cancer is a cell that did not mature correctly.
Yes, it's a different animal.
So if we help cells mature correctly, then we only strengthen the good cells.
Yes, it's different. Cancer cells and healthy cells are very different, okay? There are certain metabolic pathways or cell signaling in cancer cells that are not present in healthy cells. So sometimes when you give protocols like PPAR agonists, right? Sometimes a benefit there says enhances cell proliferation.
Yeah, which you think that will make my cancer grow also, right?
So totally wrong interpretation. Okay, cell proliferation in that sense will help your healthy cells grow more,
mature correctly. And if you see the first episode of this cancer series, you will understand what I'm talking about right now. So this series, although it's on a very rare cancer, it has a profound impact on our understanding on the supplementations that we take even some terms that we hear. So I hope this has been just as interesting and helpful to all our viewers as it has been for me even. Yeah, and I've been reading PIPA research for so many years, talking to researchers and doctors all the time. But I got a new angle, a deeper understanding of what some of the common questions clients and patients ask. So it's been a good series, Doc. Yeah, I'm glad we ended this year doing something really more academic, more serious.
Yes.
But next week onwards we'll go back to something less deep, all right? Less deep, more practical.
Something that everyone can relate to.
Yeah, but I think it's good that every year we at least try to go deep dive once a year, right? And so that everybody gets some good medical knowledge. All right. The next question, Sheila.
Okay. Alright. Okay, just before we read the next question, I just want to greet one of my favorite clients, okay? Mr. Albert Negrante. Hello, good evening, thank you for watching. And of course, our new viewer here, Miss Wendeline Bajao, and our viewer from who greeted us from our YouTube, because we are simultaneously also being played on YouTube. Miss Edna Alarcon, good evening.
Good evening,
okay.
Good evening, everybody.
My eyes is all over the place. Okay. Alright. So I think this will be our last question, but don't worry, for those questions that weren't able to answer, we'll get in touch with you. Don't worry. Okay. Alright. For the last question coming from Mr. Sammy, what is the best food to take for people with leukemia?
Okay. Again, in terms of the dietary factors actually doesn't have any big influence or leukemia. It's not like,
It's not like the other cancers.
It's not like the other cancers. It's not like something that, okay.
So in that case, how about I say this? I think PIPA tablets probably the best food that you can, because it's tailored for leukemia.
Studies so far, if you search the literature, the ones in general, okay, what is good for cancer in general will also be good for leukemia. Okay, so however, in order to reverse, okay, if you eat this, will my leukemia go away? There's no such thing. Okay, it's not like strawberries to esophageal cancer. It's not like that. Or ground flax seeds to breast cancer or prostate cancer. So it's not like that. So you cannot say that if I eat apples, then my leukemia will go away. You cannot say that, okay? So what my approach here for leukemia is still what is good for prevention, what is good for preventing cancer in general will also be good for leukemia. The foods that can be harmful or increase your risk of developing leukemia or make your cancer worse will also make your leukemia worse. Okay? So that is my general rule. Okay? So that is what I impart on patients. But that is just me. Okay? Other doctors might have a different approach here. Okay? So my approach to leukemia is I don't look at leukemia itself, I look at the person. What are the foods that can make you more healthy or healthier? Okay, what are the foods that can harm you, or what are the foods that, aside from leukemia, probably you can increase your risk of getting diabetes or high blood pressure.
Yes.
So that's the way I look at it. Okay.
I totally appreciate Dr. Jansen's approach because you gotta understand. From my understanding and from my perspective, also, a cancer patient is a patient under warfare with a very scary opponent. You just don't want other problems to come along. Right? Yeah, it's like the US whole of Europe is now busy in Ukraine, the war in Ukraine. We don't want anything to happen in Taiwan and China and things like that. That's just going to complicate the world right now. So the same, I think for cancer is a major illness. Your immune system, all your other organs are already very stressed just to deal with cancer, and it is somewhat of a zero-sum game, right? you eat how many calories of food every day, you only have a limited amount of energy that is going to go to treat your body, right? So if you have 5 diseases, your body is going to be so stressed, and you might not be able to fight 5 diseases effectively. But if you only have 1 disease, then the energy that you take in, your body can function to focus on getting well in that one area. So it's so important for cancer patients to understand, it's very important to keep your blood sugar healthy. It's so important to keep your blood cholesterol, everything healthy. It's so important to keep your liver function, your kidney functions healthy. And in order to do that, you can't just ignore them. You can't just focus on only going for chemotherapy and nothing else. Cancer is not treated in 2 weeks. It's treated in months. Right? So over the months, if you neglect the other aspects of your health, you might end up with another disease, another problem, and that's just going to make the fight so much more difficult. So it's so important to be supported by doctors apart from your onco. Doctors who specialize, for example, in lifestyle medicine, like Dr. Jansen, or a nutritionist, or even just a general practitioner, just to keep you on your toes, right? So, I think that's the answer to the last question.
Great. That's still very encouraging. Thank you, Doc, and thank you, Sir Sean. All right, I think this is the part where you, of course, share to our viewers your very quick parting words. As you have mentioned a while ago, this is the last of the 3-part series of our blood cancer, and we would like, of course, to thank everybody for staying up until the last part of our webinar. Okay, let's go maybe with Doc Jansen and then with Sir Han.
I would just like to thank all of you for staying with us in finishing this 3-part series. So this is the first time that we did this kind of a webinar.
Deeper content.
Yes, please do tell us. Please comment down in the comment section if you've enjoyed it. Things that we need to improve on. Are you enjoying a 3-part series at all? So please comment it in the comment section so we can improve more so that we can serve you better. Okay, so that's it for me.
Well, my last words is I'm so happy that Doc Jansen is back from Korea. and it really his absence the last 2 weeks have really shown me how important this health talk is, right? Because there's so many questions that we want to ask doctors and we don't have time. It seems like every time we go to a clinic, we are being rushed out because there are so many other patients waiting behind us. So we never get to ask the questions and we never develop the understanding. And it's so nice to have a doctor that is so knowledgeable. Dr. Jansen, I just want to say this. I was just having lunch with Dr. Jimmy the other day, and he was just telling me, Dr. Jimmy is a surgical oncologist, and he was like, I'm pretty shocked that Dr. Jansen is not an onco, but he really knows all the chemo drugs and even the new procedures. He said he's really very knowledgeable, and I was like, wow. I only talked to you, so I assume. I didn't compare you to the other doctors, so it was it was such high praise coming from oncologists, right? That you not being an oncologist is equally knowledgeable as an oncologist, and on top of that, you are really your practice is how to support. So it's amazing. Again, to all the audience, it's really quite nice to really, many times people who give cancer advice give advice on the treatment, but they don't know the other treatment of doctors. So for example, if you go to a nutritionist, they will tell you what's good for cancer, but they won't know what chemo drugs do, how chemo drugs work. And I think it's so important when you get advice when it comes to nutrition and lifestyle, that the person that's giving you advice is very clear about the effects and how the drugs work, right? And not just give you advice without knowing what your onco is doing. So I really your absence the last 2 weeks. Yeah, I really appreciate.
I miss you. Really.
Yeah, and I really think that
Really missed me, huh?
yeah, and I also really think that I realize the value that this program brings to our viewers. You have someone who is advising you on non-chemo aspects of the protocol, but that person is very well versed in chemo. I think that makes his advice valid and effective, and you can be confident because of that combination. So again, I'm glad you are back from Korea. All right, and I won't be alone, right? So I'm sure our viewers are also happy to be able to hear from the both of us, because we come from very different angles. And again, thank you guys for joining us, and we look forward. Sheila, what's our topic for next week?
All right. Of course, I'd like to invite everybody because this October is actually a breast cancer awareness month, and in line with that, we are going to have this topic this coming October 13th.
Oh, this is a good one.
Yes.
I remember doing this one. This one is very interesting. So our regular viewers, Lily and all that, attend. This one is nice. Yeah.
Yes, it is entitled Breast Cancer, Why Didn't Chemo Work? So it's really an interesting topic to attend. All right, so we hope to see you once again next week. We have been given by these two gentlemen so many good news tonight, but I will give you some more good news. All right, just before we say goodbye, right? Because this October, as I have mentioned, we are in observance with the breast cancer awareness. We have this promo wherein if you try or buy PPAR's powder or the jar, we call it jar, or the Simply Nature liquid extract, you'll be getting a free AD Pro serum, which is worth 2,700. So
okay,
that's a big.
Okay, just I think I'm going to interrupt here.
Go ahead.
Miss Bev looks very cute on the poster. But one thing, because today there were parents asking who have kids who have cancer, leukemia. More kids have cancer. So what is AD Pro? AD Pro is actually probiotic therapeutic level for the skin. Okay, it's like when your normal gut problem you drink. Is the difference between what the probiotics your doctor gave and then Yakult. Okay, so yeah, for those of you who have probiotics in your cosmetic or skincare, it's Yakult. This one is doctor's level, right? So it's so safe that your kids, you can even eat it. So for patients who are psoriatic, or if you have severe acne problems, these are going to be really, really useful. All right, it's also even useful for treating burns, but once the wound starts to close a little, because it's a probiotic, it will prevent the infection. So it's really great. So that just giving you a heads up what AD Pro is, so that you know how to use it. All right, and for kids, it's great for diaper rash and things like that. And especially again, it's for eczema, psoriasis patients and acne breakouts. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for explaining what our Simply Nature AD Pro serum is. It's perfect for eczema, psoriasis, rashes, and of course, we actually included this as part of your freebie because we know that some of the patients undergoing chemotherapy, they do have side effects, which is itchiness on the skin, and also for radiation patients as well.
That's right. For radiation patients, since cancer patients, it's very important for radiation therapy. The doctors can recommend to you is aloe vera, which is just to soothe the skin, but it doesn't really fight and prevent infection. So this is really good, right? So for all cancer patients that are going for radiation therapy, you can use this to apply on the area that has the radiation burns.
And of course, our promo for the AD Pro alone continues up until the end of the month, which is buy one, take one of AD Pro. There you go. So that's super good news for you guys. And as I've mentioned, thank you. I just want to say thank you again for watching and joining us on our webinar tonight. And we really hope to see you once again in our next webinar next week about breast cancer. Because here in Simply Nature, we are always with you from start to healing. Thank you, everyone. Good night, and God bless you all.